good evening. This is the Business Edition, where we get to give you the weekly roundup of the stories that have transpired throughout the week. My name is Masika Tsime. Sit back and relax. We have more in store for you. Now, starting off with the public debt insecurity, the CS Bank has tasked government to reduce their expenditures before the public debt hits to 53%. According to CS Bank, the public debt was allocated few funds, that is 200 billion shillings for this financial year. We have a look at this report.
The CS Bank officials who had appeared before the Committee of Finance to present their position on the Development Plan Implementation Program informed legislators that while government has tried to cut on expenditures for the financial year 2022-2023, it's not enough and more budget cuts are required in order to service the public debt, which has surpassed the 50% IMF ceiling.
Our debt is not sustainable because we have contracted and we are still contracting more debt. And if we don't have a reflection as a country, because there are ways that we need to do. One, cut on expenditures, because even what the Honourable Member was saying, we are not going to realize the set targets that URA has been given. So that means cutting expenditures, government expenditures is one of the key issues.
According to CS Bank, pressure has been put on the domestic revenue to finance the domestic debt liabilities at the expense of other priority budgetary items, which is costing the country. They have also advised that the 200 billion shillings to service the public debt allocated for the next financial year is very little and that government needs to reconsider the figure.
The domestic revenue to finance. Now, such we have already breached. We have a threshold of 12.5, but if you look at the current status, we have already reached 24%. You also look at external debt service to exports, inclusive of goods and services, and also external debt to domestic revenue and external debt service to domestic revenue. Now, these benchmarks are critical, but in most spaces where we interface, the only word you hear that comes from government, debt to GDP. And we are also now so comfortable, and when we say we have already crossed the 50% threshold, but we are still comfortable and we say our debt is sustained.
Ribanken says that government has not invested much in monitoring the tax flows like the budget monitoring and accountability unit, which is doing a very tremendous job in monitoring projects and establishing value for money, but because they lack capacity to extensively monitor many government projects. Though the legislators have opposed it, saying that the country has many monitoring units whose budget is well stated.
Again, there are many. There's even a ministry within OPM that does, again, that monitoring. Even in the office of the president, they do monitoring. But our call was, if you look at the budget monitoring and accountability unit, which is in the Ministry of Finance, they have just at a staff ceiling, the current staff level is 40, and yet this unit, the kind of work they do and the reports that have been generating in regards to performance and monitoring of these projects, it's really something that we should commend them.
They should not run away from doing what they're supposed to be doing. Moreover, we have even given them money to improve on their tax administration, electronic systems. So when more is given in terms of improving the tax administration, and their mandate is collecting revenue, which is in the form of taxes.
The legislators have also faulted government over the continuous borrowing that has put this country in so many debts.
You see, if Ministry of Finance would stick to the Appropriation Act as per what Parliament has allocated, I think the accounting officers would have less problems.
As we speak now, where are we? We are hovering over 50 trillion point something. We might end up on 52, 53. Even if we end up on 50 or 51, again, it will be bastardized by another supplementary in the middle there. So the indiscipline in government is completely unacceptable.
The country's public debt has hit 86.8 trillion shillings as of June 2022. The budget for the financial year 2023-2024 is at 49.9 trillion shillings, and with the supplementary budget of up to 28 trillion shillings that government has presented before the budget committee, the budget might go up to 53 trillion shillings.
Now let's cross over to Lango sub-region. Lango sub-region is well known for being an agriculture and grain hub. Our government, together with the Guide Leisure Farm, have prepared a transformation outreach to enhance investment and commercial production for their businesses. Let's have a look.
According to the State of Population Uganda Report 2022, Uganda's demographic trend shows that more than 77% of the population is youth, posing a challenge to unemployment and food security due to their negative attitude towards agriculture. The growing world population as projected presents an opportunity that the youth can harness in agriculture in terms of linking the youth to the various value chains, financial opportunities, and markets. The Lango region offers actors in the private sector and the strategies required to profitably and competitively exploit it in the service of its people and the nation as a whole.
A number of other youth and the community through what we call the skill fair, and they run weekly trainings in the community. So the spotlight is an opportunity for us to show what the young people are already doing in the region, but also to garner other people out there to come and seize the opportunities within the region.
It's also an important trade route and trade partner for Uganda and the East African region. Our strategic location in the center of Uganda, if utilized well, can help Uganda achieve its development strategy by 2030. That is why us, me, and other leaders in the region are keen on promoting businesses and investment in the north. We are using this as a tool for improving the livelihoods of our people, especially the youth, in a sustainable manner, and for positioning Uganda as a central player in East Africa and indeed the continent's economic growth and stability.
Government of Uganda in the initial stages of the NDP3 formulation, and one of the proposed strategic objectives is to increase value addition, production and productivity along the agriculture value chain. With all this investment opportunity in the agriculture sector, Guide Leisure Farm, with support from government, are to conduct a Lango Region Business Symposium to showcase the profits gained in value addition when it comes to agriculture, with the aim of attracting young people into the sector.
There are over 100 commercial tree planters in the region. Lango has a number of oil mills supported by the local people who are doing the farming of the crops that are required for this oil. Lango is also well known for supplying fish. All of us who love our Nile perch, we know that majority of the Nile perch actually comes from Lango region. And we know that Nile perch contributes a lot in our export earnings. These are all opportunities that are not yet tapped to the fullest.
Lango sub-region is predominantly based on agriculture. Majorly, they do crop farming, and these crops basically are for subsistence kind of food. They are maize, cassava, we have sunflower, soybean. Then for annual crops, we do cotton and some tobacco in some parts of Lango. Lango basically deals with agro-processing.
Uganda's national poverty rate has fallen by more than half over the last 3 decades, from 56% in the financial year 1990 to 1993 to 20.3% in the financial year 2020-2022, owing primarily to increase agricultural income. The Lango Spotlight will identify agricultural investment opportunities in the region.
Now, we all know Kenya has been having riots for the past weeks. Legislators continue to show disappointment over the government's silence over this issue that has led to the disruption of businesses in Uganda. Right Honorable Anita Monga has called upon government to bring forward a report on this matter. We have more.
Last week, Parliament demanded that government provide a detailed report on the situation surrounding the riots in Kenya and how Uganda is positioned to handle the crisis should businesses be disrupted. Parliament has not yet received a definitive response regarding the issue. The issue has once more been brought up in Parliament by Member of Parliament Honorable Lutamaguzi Semakula.
We are supposed to get an answer from government, but they are still very silent about it. I don't know whether they are still planning or thinking about it secretly, but as the public is supposed to know what is likely to happen.
According to the legislator, every Monday riots happening in Kenya may disrupt fuel prices, yet Ugandans are not ready for that situation right now.
We are not sure of how much we have in the reserves, because in case this chaos turn out to be chaotic, I don't think that Ugandans can survive for a week according to the amount of fuel we might be having in the reserve. So government should come out openly and inform Ugandans what is likely to happen, and in case it continues like it has been in the last 2 weeks, what measures have they put in place to ensure that at least we can have constant supply of goods we used to have.
The member was joined by other legislators who have cautioned government to give Ugandans an answer to the readiness of government to handle this matter.
It is common knowledge to all of us that Kisumu and Mombasa are critical when you come to Uganda. They are very, very, very important in that Uganda is a landlocked country. And these are the areas that Raila Odinga has the most power. And that is the route where there is most of the protesters. And therefore, it has a great impact on the economy of the country, particularly Uganda. And therefore, the government should come out to see how best they can talk to Kenyans so that we can have our economy boosted.
Of Kenya is one of our biggest trading partner in the region, just like South Sudan and DRC. So we trade quite a lot with the people of Kenya. And we also recognize that there is some kind of political unrest in Kenya that would in effect disrupt trade, disrupt the movement of people and goods, and therefore it will affect Uganda directly.
Honorable Nathan Byanyima, on the other hand, has called on Ugandans to be calm about this situation because he is very confident that the Commander-in-Chief is in control of the situation and there's nothing to worry about as far as businesses of Ugandans is concerned.
For sure, our leader here, our president, is the leader of all leaders in Africa. So I expect him to be thinking hard to ensure that he intervenes and things cool down. Because what hurts Kenyans hurts Ugandans. And I'm sure something good will come out very soon. I'm not worried, and I don't want Ugandans to get worried. Yes, we would, but things are under control. Kenyans are working together with us, and to ensure that all of us move together. Because if we don't get services, they want to get money. So they rely on us like we rely on them.
The Speaker of Parliament, Anita Nitamong, has yet again directed government to bring a report on the National Fuel Reserve as well as a clear report on the Kenyan situation. In the most recent Monday riots in the Republic of Kenya, 3 people have already died, prompting the Organization of African Unity body to call for calm in the nation.
For the lovers of sports, we have this in store for you. Sports is currently one of the global employment sectors. For a long time, Uganda Cranes hasn't been played games at the Nambole Stadium as the facility undergoes renovation. Government has been tasked to explain why the Cranes held their fixtures against Tanzania in Egypt.
In the recent 2023 African Cup of Nations qualifier fixtures, Uganda Cranes hosted its home game against Tanzania in Egypt, despite Nambole being the national stadium. Honorable Paul O'Mara has today expressed disappointment over what he calls government negligence for abandoning the sports sector, despite its renowned global financial dominance expressed in professional football, such as the English Premier League.
Honorable Speaker, Uganda Cranes are currently even playing games in Egypt. We cannot host an appropriate games in this country because our stadiums are really shambolic.
The legislator was later joined by the Speaker, Anita Monk, who informed Parliament that 97 billion shillings was appropriated for the renovation of the National Stadium, but no accountability has so far surfaced.
We gave out money, 97 billion to Nachivuvu, to Nambole. We gave money to Nambole, we will not budget for Nambole before we know what the 97 has done. We need an accountability of the 97 billion before we put any money in the budget. Because we cannot continue budgeting. Money goes when we don't see any output.
With the National Stadium stuck and major developments such as Nachivubo taking on a slow progress, Sports Development predicts bigger worries. Members of Parliament have informed about continuous allocations of funds for other football stadiums, but the money has never been disbursed by the Ministry of Finance.
But the Right Honourable Speaker, we appropriate money as a Parliament. I don't know what message government is sending us, that we will continue appropriating money, but we shall not implement. And when we get problems, it is members of Parliament that are attacked, that we are not doing our work. We are in a budget process cycle. Why should we continue to give you money when you're not putting it to use?
Part of that budget was to rebuild a stadium in Masaka, Masaka Recreation. We are now going to the fourth quarter. We have struggled, we have moved everywhere in the corridors of finance. And they have not even released the shilling for that stadium. When I see our football team in Egypt, Right Honourable Speaker, you know that all players, they draw their energies from supporters. That's why we lost a match.
Uganda is one of the African countries whose sports sectors lack autonomy and still held under education. The State Minister for Sports, Honorable Peter Ogwang, has on the other hand been moved to apologize as the Cranes hosted away from home in Egypt. He assured Parliament completion of the stadium will be achieved by 1st June.
Great on behalf of government for us having not met the CAF requirements to have our game played at home. Number two, as you're all aware, government sends money to various federations in terms of the international competitions. I want to confirm government, through National Council of Sports, did send money to the Federation of Uganda Football Association to have Uganda play its game in a place which was determined by the federation but not government. The entire total cost of the national team was catered by government of the Republic of Uganda. I regret that we did lose a game in Egypt, but I want to call upon this Parliament. As of now, we need to support the national team, and I'm happy, as far as Nambole National Stadium is concerned, Madam Speaker, ever since I took over office, I found it prudent that, number one, I asked for the schedule of works which is being undertaken by the UPDF Engineering Brigade.
The Speaker has ordered the Minister to avail Parliament with a report on all country stadiums as of Tuesday next week.
Now let's go a little bit global. World leaders at the annual Boer Forum for Asia on the China-Hainan Islands delivered warnings about growing geopolitical competition and decoupling on fermenting of the supply chains. Lee Hee-son, the Prime Minister of Asia, urged China and other nations to cooperate economically in order to stop global economic problems that have been plaguing the world. Let's have more. The conference theme and its four main themes, development, inclusivity, efficiency and security, regional and global, and the present and the future, were thoroughly explored by the international attendees from government, businesses, academia and the media. They also concentrated on the post-COVID era and how they can expand international cooperation. Lee Hsien-loong, Prime Minister of China, was one of the keynote speakers at the annual Boao Forum. He underlined the necessity for harmony between China and the United States in order because the rest of the globe has been impacted by these two giant economies, so a relationship. He additionally urged China and other nations to cooperate economically.
We hope that China and the United States will succeed in stabilizing their relationship and establish sufficient mutual trust and respect to cooperate in areas where their interests are aligned. The world feels the impact of these tensions keenly. Progress on tackling urgent problems such as climate change, energy and food security, and economic imperatives are being overshadowed by national security concerns. Countries are pursuing self-reliance and resilience by onshoring or friendshoring their supply chains. The bifurcation in technological and economic systems is deepening. And this will impose a huge economic cost on countries, as well as further exacerbate rivalries and frictions.
The Secretary General of BOA, Mr. Lee Baodong, stressed the need for cooperation for the development of the world economy. According to him, these economic systems dynamics must shift for greater sustainability.
We should have global vision, longer vision, united by global partnership. The cost of losing sight of the bigger picture is just too high. Standing at this podium, ladies and gentlemen, I see in front of me an audience of more than 2,000 political, business, intellectual, and opinion leaders of the world that can shape, who can really shape the course and future of this dynamic region and the world at large.
At the Boao Forum in South China, IMF Managing Director Catalina Georgieva appealed for international cooperation and solidarity. In the face of considerable uncertainty and global geopolitical turmoil, she pleaded with the globe to steer the economy toward a safer future. She highlighted the Ukraine conflict and supply chain interruptions as significant factors. Kristalina stressed the importance of making supply networks more secure and resilient.
To guide our world economy to a safer future. It has been in choppy waters for quite some time, experiencing shock upon shock upon shock.
This year's Boao Forum was under the theme Uncertain World, Solidarity and Cooperation for Development Amid Challenges. Dozens of business leaders, including Apple Chief Executive Tim Cook, HSBC Chief Director Noel Quinn, the Blackstone founder Steven Schwarzman, attended the forum, which comes as China faces heated competition with the United States, as well as the task of reviving the world's second largest economy after nearly 3 years of isolation under a tough zero-COVID policy. Welcome from that beautiful report. Business Edition goes for a short commercial break. We shall be back. Don't go away.
Smart 24, driving business. Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in securities anytime and anywhere with Zabu in a few simple steps. Step 1. Dial *292 hash. Step 2. Select option 1. Register with Zabu. Step 3. Enter your full names. Step 4. Enter your national identification number. Step 5. Enter your national identification card number. In 24 hours, you will receive an SMS confirming your registration. Congratulations, you are now ready to invest.
Luxury redefined at Seasand Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy, exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full-course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasand Hotel. So visit today at plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasand Hotels, luxury redefined.
Sunabira wa gano kima kagakatemba amajja omukwano obulimba obujja byonna bisanga wano kati mweza remote abewuwo bakuŋŋaanye olunyumi lw'ekatemba ku Pearl Magic Loco.
This is our home. Bonna mu Luganda Pearl Magic Loco eri ku mukutu namba 42 ku DSTV ate ku mukutu 315 ku GOTV. Pearl Magic Loco tuli ku ground.
Smart 24, driving business.
Thank you for keeping it locked to Smart 24 TV, where we drive business, and this is Business Edition with me, Mercy Katsime. Moving on, according to data from the Inspector of Government, Uganda loses annually 2 trillion shillings to corruption and 200,000 per person. Today, the State House Corruption Unit and the Inspector of Government initiated the youth's commitment against this vice. Let's have more.
Tell you of how I lost my dear mother and the watch of a doctor who came in late and refused to help my bleeding mother because he did not have a pair of gloves and we did not have the money to pay for his tip in what is supposed to be a public hospital. Oh, we should talk about those at the airport that got their jobs through connections and go ahead to rubbish a poor man, search for greener pastures, and to the trash can they throw their dreams of traveling abroad simply because they cannot afford a 200K bribe.
Anti-corruption agencies that include Inspectorate of Government and State House Anti-Corruption Unit have partnered with the national debate to engage young people on anti-corruption initiatives for over 3 years. The Inspector General of Government, Betty Kamya, says corruption isn't only ravaging government but also private sector, emphasizing boldly that more than 50% of people running this country are corrupt.
To rise up against corruption, that is the only way that corruption will end. So the procurement person in a national medical stores who comes from, say, Rakai, Diatonde, where I come from, they give him 10 billion shillings to go and buy medicine. He doesn't buy medicine. He goes back to Rakai and constructs a hotel and buys a VX and goes for a holiday with his company. You take your child to hospital, public hospital, there's no medicine, there's no equipment, your child or your person dies. Then your neighbor, who did not buy medicine in the hospital, comes to commiserate with you and says, I'm sorry, they give you the 500,000 to buy a coffin. And you know what we do? Oh, we thank them so much, and we put them high on the list of people to thank. This is a wonderful neighbor, and we shall never forget you in our family, what you have done, what you have done. This is the thief who stole the money for medicine, which is why your child died. Now he comes and buys for you a coffin, and you hail him.
On 7th this month, members of the Leadership Code Tribunal asked public servants to submit their declarations for income, assets and liabilities to the Inspectorate of Government, just as it was with the Speaker of Parliament. In a bid to amplify the zero corruption agenda, PPDA is collaborating with government to achieve the same among the registered public and private companies.
Expected to behave in a certain way. And through the Leadership Code Act, that is why public officers are required to declare their assets, wealth and liabilities to the Inspector General of Government, so that we follow your progress. If you declared one house this year, next year declare 3 houses. Or if you don't declare and we know that you have it, non-declaration, false declaration, under-declaration, all those are offenses under the law, because the leader must be put on a pedestal where scrutiny is part of the job hazards once you set yourself up to be a leader.
You must have heard that even at Uganda Registration Service Bureau, now companies must declare by submitting that declaration form with a beneficiary of this. And that PPDA, also in these contracting processes, if you are bidding, every contract must declare who is the beneficiary. And that will help us in finding out whether the beneficiaries are government officials, especially those who are making decisions in those contracts.
Some members of parliament who are passionate about the fight and corruption crusade have expressed what exactly is at stake while tackling the vice.
Now procurement, you're procuring an ambulance in KCC at 1 billion, and we know that ambulance is a 2013 model. It is on the boat at 80 million. You have bought it at 1 billion, and you have followed all the procedures. The IGG, the Auditor General, cannot touch you because you have followed all procedures and you have beaten government at its own game. Now we want to follow you. That money you have, where have you gotten it from? And though Mzee said that some of these guys are not investing the money abroad, that they are investing it here. But when IGG, if you begin to crusade, I was in Dubai when I was hiding from Uganda for 3 months. I know most of those people I'm talking about, they have 3 years mansions in Dubai. They are the customers of Damak. They are the customers of Emar. Actually, Emar all the marketeers of Emar are in Africa than anywhere in the world because they know where the money is.
Uganda has been consistently ranked among the most corrupt countries in the world by the various indices and reports.
The World Bank's worldwide governance indicators for 2020 gave Uganda a score of 20.8% out of 100 for control of corruption, indicating a very high level of corruption and still remains a big challenge.
Crossing over to the northern part of Uganda, that is in Yumbe, Uganda Development Bank initiative to boost agribusiness in Yumbe may take a wrong turn, as this may be due to the poor infrastructure and poor roads. Well, UDB and development partners launched a digital platform dubbed AgriConnect to enable small-scale farmers access loans. The initiative could be undermined due to lack of roads and infrastructure. Let's have a look.
Yumbe district lies over 700 kilometers away from Uganda's capital, Kampala, and it doesn't boast of any tarmac road other than Maram. The privatization minister, Honorable Evelyn Anite, who also doubles as a native of the area, asserts that the locals are fed up with the situation since they are unable to transport their agricultural produce to large markets during the rainy seasons.
If during the rain, the roads are not okay, it's expensive for us. In code of transport, it's too expensive for us.
This road from Koboko all the way to Yumbe to Moyo, the Minister for Works, that's why you should come in big numbers to Arua, because the Minister for Works is coming to tell us exactly when the road is going to start to be constructed.
The Uganda Development Bank, in partnership with the European Union and other development partners, launched a digital platform dubbed AgriConnect to enable smallholder farmers access loans and enhance their agricultural production. The chairperson LOC5 of Yumbe District, Abdul Mutalib Asiku, lauds the Uganda Development Bank initiative but decries of the poor roads which are likely to derail movement of produce, especially during the rainy season.
Regarding the condition of our roads, indeed, they are so worrying, and we've always raised the concern to Minister of Works, to Uganda National Roads Authority regarding the conditions of our roads. We have the trunk roads that are maintained by Uganda National Roads Authority, and we've always appealed to them to improve the conditions of these roads. Their concern has been inadequacy of resources.
Speaking at the launch, the Uganda Development Bank Managing Director Patricia Ojangole noted that the digital platform shall enable individuals access savings and short-term loans to boost business.
To kind of identify where we think we may need value and we have a need. And at that point, I insisted that if there is one thing that I would want to see, it was how can we do lending differently, especially in the digital era.
Now the lands and the soils of Aringa and the country is very fertile. But here, the population is big. We're talking about over 7,000 people, 700,000 people. So 700,000 people who are very energetic, if they actually continue to get this money and they put it to the right use, the way UDB has enabled them to go into the village saving groups and through their groups be able to access credit as low as 50,000 and at a zero interest rate, an interest rate of 1.5%, which is very negligible. It's a very commendable work that UDB is doing on behalf of government.
Basing on the information from the Uganda Development Bank, the pilot project targets 1,000 smallholder farmers who will be able to access digital loans in order to boost their household incomes.
Now talking national security fund, the NSSF has set 5 years target of registering 50,000 employees and 1,200,000 new members from the SME space and informal sectors voluntarily. All employers, irrespective of the number of workers, have on an ultimatum of 30 days to register and remit contributions to the fund. Let's have a look.
On 2nd January 2022, the NSSF Amendment Act was assented to by President Yoweri Museveni, transforming into law. Despite provisions on it's been a year and only 3,200 employers have registered with the National Social Security Fund. Today, all non-compliant employers have been given a 30 days ultimatum to legitimize their status with the fund.
Exist when employers exist. So we go to great lengths to make sure that the employer actually survives. Once in a while, you run into an employer who has actually deducted money from the employee's check and they stubbornly not send the money. In that case, you really have to go hard on that employer because, in a sense, they stole from the employee. And you don't tolerate that because you as a young man or a young woman, 55 is going to come very soon and you'll need that money. And we owe it to you to ensure that we can actually collect that money. So we use the carrot and the stick to help us do that very well.
At the fall of the previous financial year, 15 billion shillings was collected from the new members. This is expected to spiral provided private sector enrollment is amplified as mandatory and voluntary contributions pile.
So as at end of Feb, we've been able to collect from June to Feb 6 billion shillings from newly registered. Of the 6 billion shillings, 56% of that money has come from employers that employ less than 5 people. So you can actually see that there is actually value when these employers come on board. Of course, you can also argue that the salaries are also much lower in the category of those that employ less than 5 people, but if they all consistently pay into the fund every month, the actual value can actually go higher. But maybe also to add that we've also been able to collect 15 billion shillings from newly registered members. So people that were not members of the fund last financial year, within just this financial year so far, have been able to contribute 15 billion.
The umbrella body of SMEs and MSMEs has urged its 700 members to be compliant. A 10% penalty on the outstanding amount is already at play for non-compliance. Still, NSSF has been encouraged to carry out more educational workshops as their initiatives have less penetration.
Allowing many of these micro, small and medium-sized enterprises to also contribute towards the social security of their employees. Therefore, we appreciate the fund for launching this initiative and choosing to work with key stakeholders. For the MSMEs out there, we'd like to say that the NSSF Act was amended, and Section 7 and 13A requires all businesses, irrespective of size, to contribute to NSSF for their employees. Therefore, we want to urge you to be compliant. For NSSF, we want to ask you to intensify the education. Let's educate our MSMEs. MSMEs do not appreciate the value of social security. Every small money matters to them. So they need to appreciate why it's important to comply.
The fund, which currently manages assets worth 17.8 trillion shillings, highest in East Africa, with investments in fixed income, equity and real estate, is to be prominent towards national social security advancement that has been a great challenge to many Ugandans.
Let's go for a short breather and we shall be right back.
Smart 24, driving business.
What if you could boost your most loved entertainment? We're up in the ante. Upgrade your DSTV package and we'll boost you to the next higher package at no extra cost. If you're on Access and step up to Family, you get boosted to Compact. You know what I mean. If you're on Family, step up to Compact and we'll boost you to Compact Plus. That's an absolute ripper. And if you're on Compact, step up to Compact Plus. You'll get boosted to Premium. It's gonna be lit. Step up and we'll boost you even higher at no extra charge with DSTV.
Jerry con. Jerry con. Hey, Master Blaster, touch him, man. Bang can with muscle. Those ones who say go for you only. Mundava, best movies I teach you. But never come up with the muscari because of the cover that is very far. Is you serious? It's just you. What? Yeah? You step it on it. Add kilometers to your legs and you get your sugar. We buy meat from Umaru and Umaru refuse to give you enough meat. Show him that they don't joke with you.
Okukakaluka n'okulungi kwetaagako omuntu akuyambako n'olwekyo tujja kukuteerawo embeera esaanidde osobole okukola ekisinga awamu teri kitulema.
Sulabira wa gano gemaka g'akatemba amagya omukwano obulimba obujja byonna bisanga wano kati nyweza remote abeewuwo bakuŋŋaanye olubunyumi lw'akatemba ku Pearl Magic Loco.
This is our home. Bonna mu Luganda Pearl Magic Loco eri ku mukutu namba 42 ku DSTV ate ku mukutu 315 ku GOTV. Pearl Magic Loco tuli ku grawundi.
Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in securities anytime and anywhere with Zabu in a few simple steps. Step 1. Dial *292#. Step 2. Select option 1. Register with Zabu. Step 3. Enter your full names. Step 4. Enter your national identification number. Step 5. Enter your national identification card number. In 24 hours, you will receive an SMS confirming your registration. Congratulations, you are now ready to invest. Smart 24, driving business.
Welcome back from that commercial break with me, Mercy Katsime, taking you through the weekly roundup. Now talking about Eskom Uganda. Eskom Uganda handed over Nalubare and Chiro hydro plants to Ugandan government. Eskom's Uganda's 20-year concession to manage and operate facilities has come to an end this month.
And then we shall be doing a full load capacity test of this power station.
Last year, the Ugandan government announced it would not renew Eskom's license when it expired this month and would instead run the plants as part of the plans to reduce power costs to consumers, and part of those plans, according to the government, was to reduce private capital in the sector. The government created the Uganda National Electricity Company Limited, a state-run company to manage the generation, transmission and distribution segments of the electricity sector. Eskom, under the 20-year concession signed in 2002, Eskom had been running the two plants located at the source of the River Nile in Jinja, about 90 kilometers east of the capital, Kampala. Both plants have a combined installed generation capacity of 380 megawatts.
In the asset of Eskom Uganda Limited, wish therefore to appreciate Eskom Limited for the warm welcome and thank you for maintaining the complex in a very good condition, and we have all witnessed as we walked around. Things are fascinating, the power is there, and no progress. You know, that is tomorrow. What about the one who has kept it for 20 years and giving us the power which has transformed this country? Our industries will not be operating, the hospitals, police state will not be operating, etc. As you are all aware, the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, represented by the Uganda Electric Generation Company Limited, Uganda, and ESCOM, Uganda Limited, signed a concession.
The new company, UEGCL, is structured as a public-private partnership with a state firm as majority shareholder. The State Minister for Minerals, Okasi Opolo, said that Uganda Electricity Generation Company Limited has been tasked to generate hydropower over 40,000 megawatts by 2040. President Yoweri Museveni has repeatedly complained that expensive private capital was responsible for the high electricity tariffs in Uganda, which makes it unaffordable for consumers. Therefore, a 40,000 megawatt will be able to reduce the costs of electricity.
The country has got an ambitious plan of transforming the economy, going into industrialization of the country. The young population wants jobs. The young population is going to value addition. The minerals must go into value addition instead of exporting our minerals as cost or us. We are saying they must be added value to. And if we're to meet that ambitious plan,
ESCOM Managing Director Tozama Ganji said that they are handing over much better and more efficient power generation facilities. She also pointed out a number of achievements and challenges while managing the power plant.
Power consumption, units that are on maintenance. These are some of the contributing factors of not achieving the 100% capacity test. At handover, we have agreed with Uganda UGCL to test all the units, starting with KPS, with an installed capacity of 200, followed by NPS, with installed capacity of 180 megawatts. The capacity for KPS capacity test for KPS was conducted on the 9th of March 2023 in the presence of UGCL, UTCL, and the Electricity Regulatory Authority. The independent engineer is of the opinion that if the complex continues to be operated and maintained using prudent duty practices, in 20 years of our operation, the company encountered a number of challenges. Though we maintained our grip to deliver on our mandate of operating and maintaining the complex with minimum interruptions to production.
For continuity purposes, Uganda Electricity Generation Company Limited has completed its recruitment process for the key staff who will take over the operation of the power plant post the transfer date.
Last but not least, the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife Centre and Tourism Association have given insights of the sector performance. From the report 2020-22, 2.7 trillion was collected from the visitors export, with big incomes from accommodation, food, transport, and this has maintained its buoyant market. We have more.
In the pandemic year 2020, the tourism industry declined by 69.3% to 473,085 tourists. As the resumption set in, the sector has exponentially grown, registering over 814,508 international visitor arrivals just last year, a 59% increase from 2021, though less by negative 47.8% as compared to 2019. As stakeholders release such performance indicators today, government and the industry are expected to continue promoting and implementing measures for safe and responsible tourism practice.
The tourists generated Uganda shillings 2.7 billion, that is to say 0.736 billion US dollars in Forex in 2022, which is 12.2% of total exports in 2022 and 41.4% of service exports. However, this is still only half of the earnings generated in 2019, which was $1.4 billion. Analysis of the figures shows that business and professional tourists and leisure tourists bring 36% and 24% of our earnings respectively.
As Uganda still commands as one of the top visiting friends and relative markets, sector challenges as well prevail. A public-private sector partnership has been echoed as crucial to
to overcome industry setbacks, as anticipated in pending policy and operational amendments, for instance for the Museum Act, Tourism Development Levy, and the Tourism Act.
Highlight of the government that they are going to train more private sector actors in capacity building, training to be able to serve the guests. Government can put into place all these laws, but the private sector, this is a private sector driven industry. So if you ignore the private sector, you're not doing anything much. So that's why I love this today, that the government did invite us, the private sector. The private sector is really taken care of in this report, and we hope to have very many more supportive laws. We need to have these laws which are pending, the Museum Act, the Tourism Act reviewed and actually start to be implemented, so that even we as the private sector can have some of the things implemented. So for instance, we urgently need the Tourism Development Levy. We need to be able to train our people. Training is expensive. We cannot do it on our own as private sector. We cannot do it as government. But if we work hand in hand, we can be able to collect money from the private sector.
The sector has expressed optimism, evidence in growing visitor arrivals, and a resurgence in collateral services such as transport and accommodation. This follows interventions like digital marketing and online permit systems, implementation of report recommendations that include upgrade of protected areas, among other undertakings, is envisioned to spur redemption.
And we hope year 2023, we need to perform much better. We cannot hit the mark of 1.5 million tourists we had last year, but we should go beyond the mark of 1 million. And when you have beyond mark of 1 million tourists, meaning you should also reach the level of over 3.5 trillion Uganda shillings in terms of earning.
Enhancing regulation, coordination and management of the sector has been underlined as a critical factor to support full-scale recovery and sector growth.
Now that brings us at the end of the week edition. My name is Masi Katsime. Till next time.
Smart 24, driving business.
This is Jordan. When it comes to classwork, Jordan is magic. Jordan shines. Jordan makes his peers better. Jordan is a true leader. White Star Magic family. Be a leader. Be magic.
Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in securities anytime and anywhere with Zabu in a few simple steps. Step 1. Dial *292#. Step 2. Select option 1. Register with Zabu. Step 3. Enter your full names. Step 4. Enter your national identification number. Step 5. Enter your national identification card number. In 24 hours, you will receive an SMS confirming your registration. Congratulations, you are now ready to invest.
Jerry con! Jerry con! Hey, Master Blaster! Touch him, man!